Welcome to Neural Nexus Podcast, where we explore the hottest topics shaping the world. Let's dive in.
All right, so we're back. And today we are going to be looking at a ton of news about all the executive orders that President Trump signed like right away when he got back in office.
His first day back.
Yeah, his first day back. It's a lot. We've got articles, we've got analysis.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards. So we are going to try to cut through the noise and figure out what really matters here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just, President using executive power right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Like, it really sets the tone for what's to come.
Sets the tone. And the first thing he did was pardons.
Oh, yeah.
Pardons. We're talking like 1,500 people involved in the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Right, and that was a campaign promise, wasn't it?
It was a campaign promise.
But it has divided legal experts because some see it as a disregard for the rule of law, but others say it's totally within his presidential power.
Right.
And it could actually help heal political divides.
So, very bold statement.
Very bold.
And he didn't stop there. He's also halting federal cases against people that he is calling
this is interesting.
Political opponents of the Biden administration.
Right.
What could happen because of that?
We have to think about, it could set a precedent for future presidents to use the justice system to kind of target their rivals.
Oh.
And that could erode public trust in the courts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is this a sign that legal matters are going to be dealt with in a more partisan way?
Yeah.
And if so, what does that mean for our democracy?
Okay, so we've got pardons, we've got legal battles, but now let's swing over to the economy.
Okay.
Because things get really interesting here.
Right.
Trump held this almost campaign rally-style event at Capital One Arena.
Interesting.
And he signed this memo that's aimed at fighting inflation.
Yeah, choosing that venue, I think, speaks volumes, underscores the performative element of his leadership style.
Yeah.
But the memo itself focuses heavily on deregulation of oil and gas.
Oh, so very familiar.
Especially in Alaska.
Yeah. Energy dominance is back.
Yes, it is.
So he also slapped a 25% tariff on goods coming from Canada and Mexico.
Oh, boy.
Are we going to have trade wars again?
Well, tariffs can really be a double-edged sword.
Explain.
Well, on the one hand, they protect domestic industries from foreign competition.
Right.
But on the other hand, they raise prices for consumers.
Yeah.
And can actually trigger retaliatory tariffs from other countries.
Yeah, like what happened with China.
Remember the trade war with China?
Yeah.
That had huge economic repercussions.
Yeah, it did. So maybe not the best strategy.
It's complicated. There's no easy answer.
Okay, speaking of complicated, we can't forget about TikTok.
Oh, yes, TikTok.
He's put a 75-day hold on that congressional ban while he looks for an American buyer.
This is fascinating because it touches on so many things like national security and data privacy.
Oh, yeah.
Freedom of speech, and even the role of the government in regulating tech.
Yeah.
It's like all the challenges of the digital age wrapped up in one little app.
All in one app, and then, in a move that seems very America first.
Yeah.
Trump pulled the U.S. out of the World Health Organization.
He also ordered a review of all foreign aid.
Okay, so what does that tell us?
It's a clear signal that he's moving away from multilateralism and global cooperation.
Right.
It's like he's creating a vacuum
Yeah.
for other powers to fill.
Okay, so it's not just policy stuff. There's a lot of symbolism going on here.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember, he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America?
Of course. How could I forget?
And he's changing Denali back to Mount McKinley.
Right. Symbolic gestures might seem trivial,
Yeah.
but they can tell you a lot about his worldview
Yeah.
and his desire to kind of show off American power.
Yeah, and then there was that executive order about the flags needing to be at full height on Inauguration Day.
Oh, yeah?
Because he wasn't happy. They were half-mast for former President Carter's death.
Wow. It just adds to the feeling that he's trying to reassert dominance
Right.
and undo everything Biden did.
So what does all this tell the world about America's place?
Right. What are the consequences of this new foreign policy?
So we've got pardons, we've got economic policies, we've got a return to America first.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about immigration.
Oh, right. Immigration.
Which is
One
huge.
of the most contentious issues of our time.
It is. And he wasted no time in reversing a lot of Biden's policies.
Oh, yeah.
He's narrowed deportation priorities, declared a national emergency at the border, and he's sending troops to assist immigration agents.
Wow.
He's also restricting refugees and asylum.
Yeah.
He's trying to end birthright citizenship, and he got rid of the CBP One app.
Right. The app that let almost 1 million migrants enter legally under Biden.
Yeah.
This is a 180 from the previous administration,
Big time.
and it's definitely going to affect immigration patterns and border security.
Right.
But will it actually achieve what he says it will?
That's the question. And this leads us to another area where we see a big difference: climate and energy policy.
Okay.
Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Agreement again.
Yeah, unsurprisingly.
And he's declared an energy emergency. He wants more drilling, and he eliminated Biden's electric vehicle mandate.
So he's basically saying energy independence and economic growth are more important than the environment.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
What will happen because of this change in policy?
Well, domestically and globally.
Yeah,
I mean, the Paris Agreement is a worldwide effort to fight climate change.
right.
And when the U.S. pulls out, it really undermines that effort.
So what does that mean for the future of environmental policy?
I mean, it's hard to say for sure,
Yeah.
but it will probably slow down progress on renewable energy, and we might even see more fossil fuel production.
So maybe not so good.
No, probably not good for the planet in the long run.
Let's move on to his plans to change how the federal bureaucracy works.
Okay.
He froze federal hiring except for the military, and he stopped any new regulations.
Right. That's pretty normal for new administrations.
It is.
Gives them time to look at everything and control spending.
Right. But the interesting thing here is what role he gave to Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. What's up with this Department of Government Efficiency thing?
That's what I'm talking about.
It's not even a real agency.
It's not. But he's given Musk a lot of power to recommend cuts.
In government programs.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Well, on the one hand, outside expertise can be really valuable,
Right.
but giving that much power to just one person,
Yeah.
especially someone who has personal interests in certain industries,
Yeah.
it could create conflicts of interest.
That's a good point.
And what about transparency
Exactly.
and accountability?
Right. Because what happens if Musk's suggestions actually end up hurting the people those programs are supposed to be helping?
Exactly. There are downsides to think about.
There are.
It's a big experiment,
It is.
and we'll have to see if it makes the government more efficient or if it causes new problems.
We'll definitely be watching that closely. All right. So we've covered a lot.
we have.
Pardons, immigration, climate policy, the economy, all the shakeups to the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing we need to talk about before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay, with that.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, yes.
Another area where we're seeing big changes from what Biden did.
What's happening?
Trump is rolling back protections for transgender people
Okay.
and ending DEI programs in the federal government.
Wow.
He also issued an executive order that defines sex based only on whether a person is born with eggs or sperm,
Okay.
and he's mandating that federal prisons and shelters be separated by sex using that definition.
Wow. So these actions are likely to have a huge impact on transgender people.
Yeah.
And there might even be legal challenges about discrimination
Right.
and equal protection under the law.
Right.
This is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences.
It is. And we'll dig into all the details and potential consequences in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
But for now, I think we've given you a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind just this first day,
It has.
and we've only just scratched the surface.
We'll be back in a bit to unpack even more of these executive orders and what they could mean for America and the world.
Can't wait.
Okay, we are back and are ready to go even deeper on these executive orders.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride so far.
It has.
What has stood out to you in all of this?
You know, it's just how big it all is.
Yeah.
It's not just getting rid of Biden's policies.
Right.
It feels like he's trying to change like the whole structure of American government.
I see what you're saying. It's like he's trying to move the Overton window.
Yeah, exactly.
Push the boundaries of what's even acceptable to talk about in politics.
Exactly. Like take immigration.
Okay.
He's not just changing what Biden did.
Right.
He's bringing back these arguments about birthright citizenship,
Yeah.
which has been settled law for like forever.
And then there's the rollback of environmental protections.
Right.
Pulling out of the Paris Agreement that sends a big message to the world
It does.
about what America cares about.
Yeah.
And a lot of environmental advocates are really worried.
They are. I mean, what does it mean for the planet long term?
Yeah.
If the U.S., which is, one of the biggest polluters,
Yeah.
isn't fully on board with reducing emissions.
What does that mean for the whole world?
Yeah, what does that mean for our efforts to fight climate change?
It's scary to think about.
It is.
And then there's the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion issue.
Yeah, that's a hot topic.
It is rolling back protections for transgender people and getting rid of DEI programs in the government.
Right.
That's going to cause a lot of pushback.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there are probably going to be legal challenges,
Yeah.
and it just brings up all these deep divisions we have about gender identity
Right.
and what the government should be doing about social justice.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, in the courts and just in public opinion.
Speaking of public opinion, let's talk about TikTok.
TikTok.
He put a 75-day hold on that ban while he's trying to find an American buyer.
Right.
So it seems like he's trying to do two things at once. He's saying he's worried about national security,
Right.
but he's also trying to appeal to his base,
Yeah.
who think banning TikTok is like censorship.
Right. It's a tricky situation.
It is.
Because on the one hand, data privacy is a real concern.
Yeah.
And foreign governments could be getting our information.
Right. But
Banning a popular app
yeah.
makes people think about censorship
Right.
and what the government should be allowed to do about online content.
It's a tough one.
It is a slippery slope.
Okay, so we've talked about what could happen because of these executive orders.
Right.
But let's step back for a minute.
Okay.
What do you think his motivation is?
Like, what's driving all of this?
Yeah, what's the goal?
Well, I think America first is still the main idea.
Okay.
He's putting American interests first.
Right, economic and political.
Yeah. Even if it means upsetting our allies or leaving agreements with other countries.
So what does that mean in reality?
Like, what will it look like?
Yeah, are we going to be more isolationist?
Yeah. It seems like he's moving away from working with other countries.
Okay.
In global cooperation, he seems to be more focused on deals with individual countries
Okay.
and showing how strong America is.
Okay, so what about here at home?
Yeah.
We've seen him focusing on deregulation
Yeah.
and cutting government spending.
Yeah. Which fits with his whole idea of smaller government
Right.
and letting businesses do their thing.
Right, he thinks that will help the economy grow.
Exactly.
But what about things like social programs and environmental protections?
Right. Could those suffer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a balancing act
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
growing the economy and taking care of people.
Right.
It's a debate that's been going on forever.
It has.
He seems to be putting economic growth first,
Okay.
which could mean cuts to social programs and less environmental protection.
Okay, so we talked about why he might be doing this,
Yeah.
but how is he actually making these changes?
Well, one of his main tools is executive power,
Right.
executive orders. They let him do things without going through Congress,
Okay.
and he can make policies happen quickly.
But there are limits, right,
Oh, of course.
to executive power.
Yeah. Executive orders can be challenged in court,
Okay.
and Congress can pass laws to overturn them,
Right.
but they're still a powerful tool,
Yeah.
and he's using them to get what he wants.
Yeah. He's not afraid to use them.
Nope.
I mean, look at how many he's already issued
Right, in just one day.
on all sorts of different issues.
It's a bold move.
It is.
We'll see if it works in the long run.
Yeah.
But it definitely shows that he's not going to let anything hold him back.
Not traditional rules
Nah.
or political pressure.
Not at all.
So what do you think will happen next?
Well, I think we're going to see more of the same.
Okay.
He's made his priorities pretty clear,
Yeah.
and he's not afraid to use his power.
Right. So the question is, will he be successful?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of things,
Right.
like
But-
legal challenges,
Right.
pushback from Congress,
Right.
and what the public thinks.
We'll see.
It's going to be interesting.
It is. All right, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about those pardons
Okay.
for the people involved in the January 6th attack.
Yeah, a lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah, it seems like he's still trying to downplay what
Oh.
happened that day
Right.
and cast doubt on the 2020 election.
It makes you wonder about his commitment to the rule of law
Right.
and the peaceful transfer of power,
Yeah. How do you think the people who were hurt that day feel?
or the families who lost loved ones.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them probably feel betrayed
Yeah.
and angry,
Yeah.
like they didn't get justice.
It's a really tough issue,
It is.
and it's going to keep dividing the country.
Yeah, those wounds from January 6th are still fresh.
They are. Okay, let's move on to another big change, immigration.
Yeah, back to immigration.
One of the biggest issues we face.
Always a hot topic.
And Trump wasted no time changing what Biden did.
Right, he's narrowed those deportation priorities.
It-
Declared a national emergency at the border,
Yeah.
and he's sending troops to help immigration agents.
He's also restricting refugees and asylum seekers,
Yes.
trying to end birthright citizenship.
Wow.
And he got rid of that CBP One app.
Yeah, the one that let all those migrants in legally under Biden.
Right. So this is a completely different approach
It is a complete 180.
than what we saw before.
Definitely going to change things at the border,
Yeah.
but will it actually work?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
It's like, will it actually achieve the goals he says it will?
It's hard to say.
It is.
There's so many things that could affect it.
Yeah.
The economy in other countries,
Right.
how well they enforce things at the border,
Right.
and any legal challenges that might come up.
It's a complicated issue
It is.
with no easy solutions.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be debated for years to come.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
As we keep looking at all this,
Yeah.
it's important to remember the real people affected by these policies. It's not just some political debate.
Exactly.
These decisions have real consequences.
For real people.
Yeah, we can't lose sight of that.
It's easy to get lost in the policy details
It
and
is.
forget about the human stories.
That's such an important point.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have
Pardons, immigration,
climate change.
the economy, the changes to how the government works, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
It's clear that Trump is back with a plan.
He is.
He knows what he wants to do.
And he's not messing around,
Nope.
using his power to make it happen.
Yeah. And we'll just have to see how it all unfolds.
In the coming days, weeks, and months.
It's going to be a wild ride.
We'll definitely be watching. Okay, let's talk about TikTok again.
Hey, TikTok.
The story continues.
It does.
So he's putting that congressional ban on hold for 75 days
Right.
while he looks for an American buyer.
People have mixed feelings about that.
They do. Some people think it's the right way to handle the national security concerns. Others think he's trying to mess with the free market.
It's tricky.
It is.
It could affect free speech, data, privacy, and even our relationships with other countries.
Yeah, and the fact that it's all happening so publicly
Yeah,
just makes it even more interesting.
it's a good story.
Okay, last but not least, let's go back to this America First idea.
Yeah, that's been a big part of his whole presidency.
It seems like it's affecting a lot of his decisions.
Right.
Like leaving those international agreements
Yeah,
and being more isolationist.
right. So what do you think about all that?
Well, it definitely appeals to some people.
Yeah.
They feel like the U.S. has been taken advantage of in these deals with other countries and that it's time to focus on ourselves.
All right.
But some people don't like it.
Yeah, they say it's short-sighted
Right,
and that it could actually hurt us in the long run.
Yeah.
They say it weakens our leadership in the world
right.
and hurts our relationships with our allies.
And that it makes the world less stable.
And more unpredictable.
Yeah.
So it's complicated.
It is. And it's something we're going to keep talking about as Trump's presidency goes on.
For sure, as we keep looking at what he does,
Yeah.
it's important to think about the bigger picture,
Right.
the history of all this,
Yeah.
and what the consequences could be.
For the U.S. and for the whole world.
It's a big deal.
Wow. We've covered so much in this deep dive.
Well, yeah.
Pardons, immigration,
Climate.
the economy, TikTok. I mean, it feels like Trump hit every major issue in just one day.
He really did.
Yeah.
It's been nonstop. And you can tell he's not just trying to undo what Biden did.
Right.
It's like he wants to change the whole political game.
Yeah. And he's moving so fast.
Yeah, like he's on a mission.
It's like he knows he has limited time
Right.
to make a difference, and he's not wasting any of it.
Yeah, you get the sense that he's saying, hold on, America. Things are about to change.
Totally. There's like this boldness,
Yeah.
almost a defiance
Defiance, yeah.
to everything he's doing. He's not playing by the usual rules.
Not at all.
So for everyone listening out there, what's the one thing they should take away from all this
What should they be watching for?
Yeah. as this presidency goes on?
I'd say watch for the ripple effects.
Okay.
All these executive orders are going to have consequences.
In ways we might not even expect.
Yeah, both here and around the world.
Can you give some examples?
Sure, think about the immigration policies.
Okay.
Cracking down on asylum seekers and trying to end birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
That's going to have a huge impact on families and communities all across America.
Yeah. And then on a global level, pulling out of the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, that hurts America's reputation when it comes to climate change.
Right.
And it's going to make it much harder to solve this worldwide problem.
And what about the economic policies?
Right. Could lead to trade wars and make the markets unstable.
It feels like things are about to change a lot in American politics and our relationships with other countries.
Yeah.
And nobody knows for sure what's going to happen.
It's definitely a time of uncertainty, but it's also a time of opportunity.
Okay.
The choices made right now will shape where the country goes from here.
So what can we do as citizens?
To deal with all this change,
Yeah.
stay informed,
Okay.
talk to each other respectfully, even when we disagree,
Right.
and hold our leaders accountable.
Yeah, we have to participate in the democratic process.
We do.
And make our voices heard.
Exactly. And remember, the more you know about what's going on,
Yeah.
the better prepared you'll be to make good decisions
Right.
and fight for the changes you want to see.
It's been a really thought-provoking deep dive,
It has.
and I'm sure there are a lot more surprises to come.
Okay, definitely. This is just the beginning.
It is. So for everyone listening, here's something to think about in this crazy world of ours.
Where things are changing so fast.
And everyone's fighting with each other. What does it really mean to be a good citizen?
What does it mean to be informed and engaged?
Something to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep.